Amanda, and this is my Texas Zone 8 garden, and today I am preparing for the polar vortex that is going to be dipping all the way through the United States. So I'm going to walk you through what I do to prepare my garden for extreme or prolonged freezes. And then at the end, to warm up, we're going to make a roasted vegetable soup. Okay, so polar vortex. Basically, it's just like allowing a certain level of really cold air to drop down. And the polar vortex is going to drop down further than usual for the United States. And the temperatures are going to drop dramatically for my area. Now, I know lots of y'all don't live where I live, and lots of y'all deal with extreme temperatures, snow and ice. We do not here. We are not prepared. We don't have the infrastructure needed. Even the native plants aren't used to dealing with these extreme temperatures, especially prolonged extreme temperatures. And right now the prediction is that we're going to have prolonged extreme temperatures from about Sunday morning through Wednesday afternoon. Now some of y'all might be asking, hey Amanda, I'm looking on my weather app. I don't see what you're talking about. You're crazy. Okay, so I follow a man named Roy Ponder, and his weather channel app whole situation is called Ponder on the Weather. You can find him on Facebook. He's on YouTube. He's on all the social media outlets. And he's literally just a guy who taught himself about meteorology. But I'm obsessed with him because he's all in kind of person. So he's all in like, hey, this is going to be an extreme event. None of the meteorologists are talking about it yet. They're talking a little bit about it, but they're not going to talk about how extreme it is right now. He just goes all in. He does a lot of study, looks at a lot of different models, posts a lot of information. His YouTube stuff is great, and he happens to live in my area. So I feel like he has a really great understanding of my area, and I'll put his information below if you're interested in checking out Roy. He does do other parts of the United States as well. But I believe Roy. I stand by Roy. So I'm going to err on the side of caution and go ahead and prep my beds for this. So let's talk a little bit about what all is involved. So I want to show y'all what I'm concerned about for my area. I'm not concerned about too much of this bed over here. I am concerned about my hardy annuals right here, my bells of Ireland and my Godetia. So I would like to cover them. I'm not really concerned about much of this area at all. I am concerned about my raised beds that have a lot of my hardy annual seedlings in them. And so that's a big deal for me because there's a lot of effort put into those seedlings and they don't have extensive root systems yet. So I am concerned about keeping them warm. I'm probably in addition going to cover this bed, or at least this portion right here where the straw flower are, because that's also one of my hardy annuals. And then I'm probably going to cover this portion of this bed because these are hardy annuals, Status and Scabiosa, that I overwintered them last winter. They've grown throughout the season. They survived the summer, and now here we are again. And I'm hoping that I can take these nice full plants through the winter again. Now, I've already moved a bunch of my terracotta pots up to allow them to start drying out. Terracotta, it's not that I'm concerned about the plants per se. I'm more concerned about the terracotta freezing, because when moist soil or moisture in the terracotta freezes, it expands and cracks the pots. So I put them on there. Over here I have delphinium, sweet pea that I'm also going to cover, and I also have this bed over here which is my lisianthus and my snapdragons, which snapdragons can really handle like, very like sub-zero temps, like they can go down really low, but I'm just going to cover it for convenience sake because I'm definitely doing the lisianthus. And then in here I'm also going to add some additional help for my ranunculus. These are all my ranunculus corms that I started this fall, and they're all looking really good and doing really well, and I would like for them to continue to do so. I'm not going to stress about my chrysanthemum bed. We'll see how they do, and if it doesn't work out, I'll buy all new chrysanthemums. Okay, I just looked up a little bit more information about mums, and I am going to cover them because now I'm worried. they like to about 20 degrees. And we're getting some predictions of teens and potentially single digits. And I don't want to lose all my beautiful mums. So we're going to get these covered up as well. So let's talk about what products we're going to use. Now, believe it or not, I don't actually cover my stuff up very often. I really only cover it up when we're going to get extreme prolonged temperatures because most of the stuff in my garden can handle freezing. A lot of it can handle down to like 25 and 20. It's when we get into the teens and lower for more than like a day that it becomes an issue for my garden. And so here's some of the things I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using a bunch of incandescent Christmas lights, not LED Christmas lights, the old school Christmas lights, because they give off just a little bit of heat. And basically what I'll be doing is I'll be laying them throughout the beds, and then I'll run electricity out to the beds and have all of these on. So I'm going to put these down first. Next, I'm going to be using tarps, freeze cloths. So you're going to see the dark green ones on here. These are not my favorite. The dark green ones aren't. I actually prefer the white ones because the white ones do allow some sunshine to come through to add to the warmth. The green ones, not so much, but it is what it is, and I'm not going to go buy more stuff, so we're going to use these. So I'm going to be using freeze cloth on a bunch of the plants as well. I'm pretty much going to double up the freeze cloth. I'm going to fold it in half so that has a couple of layers. Each layer only gives me 1 to 2 degrees. It's not that I'm trying to stop anything from freezing. It's that I'm trying to bring it up enough, kind of into the 20 range is my hopes. I would love for my beds to stay in the 20 degree temperature range because then I know that all these plants will be fine and that they can survive that. Like I said, it's the dropping down through the teens and single digits for a long time that's a problem. So while I am trying to keep them warmed up, I'm not trying to keep them above freezing. So the combination of the incandescent Christmas lights and the layers of the frost cloth should give me my best chance possible. I mean, there's no guarantee. It's Mother Nature, y'all. It could come through. We could have 2 feet of ice, ice and snow like we did in February of 2021. Who knows? But I'm going to try to do the best I can. And the last big thing that I use are garden staples. I always keep a bunch of these on hand. I order them on Amazon. And these are the 8-inch ones, but these long garden staples really help for securing my cloths. I prefer the long ones like this, the at least 8 inches, the 10 and 12 are even better because they're stronger when we have crazy blustery wind like this. And that's probably the biggest issue that I may be dealing with today as I'm laying the cloth. I would typically wait until right before the freeze is going to happen to come out here, but the temps are going to be so intense and I don't like the cold. So I'm going to go ahead and put my stuff out today. We're not going to get super, super warm over the next few days. My plants should be fine. They're not going to get cooked under there. We're not getting warm enough for them to be cooked under there or anything. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get everything started today because there is quite a bit of prep. So let's go ahead and go. Okay, so these are just your basic, like old school twinkle lights. And all I'm going to do is basically just take them and I'm going to just run them back and forth over the bed just like this. I'm not even going to weight them down because they'll have the frost cloths on top of them. And they should give a couple of degrees of temperature assistance, which is really important when I'm looking at some of the drastic measures. So I think that's what I'm going to do first is get all of my Christmas lights laid out and then we'll go from there. Okay, so this next part is the part I dislike the most. I hate putting down these freeze covers, these freeze cloth. That's one of the main reasons that I don't cover my stuff very often is because I dislike it so much. Like that's legit the reason why. But basically what I'm going to do is these are going to be doubled up, so they're folded in half, and you get a degree or two, a couple of degrees from each layer. And I did this for the freeze that we had, everybody calls it Snowmageddon, for the freeze that we had in 2021, in February of 2021. And I had a lot of plants that did really well and made it. So that's wonderful. So that's why, I am taking the time to go ahead and try this out. In the end, it's only going to cost me a couple of hours of time. I didn't go buy any new product for this or anything like that. And one of the big things about situations like this is your peace of mind. If you're like me, work really hard in your garden. And I worked really hard in my garden. And there's something to be said about peace of mind coming through, putting this stuff down so that I don't have to stress about it, which is very important. Now, I use these stakes to hold stuff down, but I also like to come back with like pieces of extra lumber or rocks or other stuff that I have, and I like to put it in the middle. For situations like this with the seedlings that I've got here, I'll just do some light fence posts. So let me show you what that looks like. So I have some leftover cedar planks from the project that I did for, for the shade garden. And so basically I'm just going to come across here and lay these on. Now there's a bar that goes across the center. So these aren't laying on, like they're not like flat on laying on the seedlings. So you can see like this is rocks a little bit because of where the bar is. But there's just enough to keep the wind from coming underneath and billowing this whole thing out. So a lot of times I do stuff like that. There's a wide variety. I mean, I've seen people use lawn chairs and all kinds of crazy stuff. So whatever you think works best for you. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on fast forward and finish covering all of these gardens. Feeling pretty good. The back is pretty much buttoned up with the exception of the bells of Ireland and the Godisha. And there's a couple of new mums over here that I'm going to show you another technique on how to help with those. I'm going to take a little break and we're going to go ahead inside and I'm going to go ahead and get some of the vegetables roasted up for the vegetable soup. Okay. So, Amanda, why are you making a meal? So I've had a lot of requests to show a little bit more about like my lifestyle and things I do. And I'm not fancy person. I like fancy things, don't get me wrong, but I'm not fancy. But I thought that I could throw in a few things here and there about cooking or things I do in my house for decorating, different things like that that I consider a little bit more thrifty. And one of the things I love to do is I love to do a roasted vegetable soup. And I typically do that when there's a sale on produce, when I'm trying to utilize produce that I've produced in my garden, like I want to hurry up and use it, when I've got older produce that's in my refrigerator, which is I'm notorious for doing. And this is a really fun way to easily make a really delicious soup. I am not a recipe person. I don't have a recipe for this. Most of the way I cook is technique based. And when I say technique based, I didn't go study it. I just kind of figured things out. I mean, I've been cooking for a family for 20 plus years. And I've kind of just figured out things along the way. I like cooking and I hate cooking. I always see that funny meme about like once you have a child, then you have to figure out dinner for them for the rest of your life. I feel like that a lot of times. But so what we're going to do today is we're just going to do a easy vegetable soup. The key to this vegetable soup is roasting the vegetables to really kind of bring out a deeper flavor. And the other key, which is going to sound ridiculous, is that they are similar colors. So we're working with mostly reds. I would never throw in anything green into this mostly red soup because it will turn it brown. And that is not something that's attractive to eat. It would literally look like brown baby food. And the other reason I really like this recipe or this technique that I do is that it is very easy and it's not stressful. The chopping is very simple. I literally just am taking off the edges of the bell pepper. And I don't even stress about taking out the seeds or anything. I end up pureeing this. And so I don't really stress about anything like that. Same thing with the tomatoes that I'm putting in. Now, typically I would use some tomatoes from my garden, but I've already used them all. I don't grow a ton of vegetables, but usually when I grow them, I utilize them pretty quick, right away. Tomatoes, I don't even bother removing the skins or anything because, like I said, everything is getting pureed in here, and so it doesn't stress me out at all. So I'm literally just cutting these tomatoes in half. I did find some of these like specialty tomatoes they had at Aldi's, which is not something that Aldi's typically has. Just beautiful heirloom tomatoes I thought would be fun. Okay, next I'm going to take some onions. Oh, these are older onions. Now I've got this in a cast iron pot, or this is an enameled cast iron pot. I cook a lot with cast iron. I love cast iron. And I've had this pot for a while. So what I'm going to do is put in some olive oil, salt, pepper, put in some Italian seasoning. I also really like red pepper flakes. We like spicy food. And a little bit of rosemary. And at this point, all I want to do is stir it up, making sure I've got oil on all of the things. Just like that. Isn't that gorgeous? Okay, and I'm going to set the oven to bake at, let's do 400. I prefer 400 when I'm roasting. I'm going to go ahead and move one shelf all the way down. And I've got the lid on my pot, and this is going to go in. And I'm probably going to leave this for about 45 minutes, and then we'll come back and check it. But let's go get some more stuff covered up in the garden. Okay, I want to show you one more technique. These chrysanthemums are newly planted, and I love them. So I really don't want them to die. So what I'm going to use is just a bucket technique. Basically, I'm going to take a towel, an old towel, put it around the plant, and then I'm going to flip a bucket upside down over the towel, just like that. And then I like to put something on top, like a brick or something, to weight it down. And this is a very easy technique. The problem is you need a lot of buckets. You can use pots or containers too. That works really nice. I prefer, if I'm doing if it's a big freeze, like what we're looking at now with the prolonged temperatures, I prefer to do it with the towel underneath. Some people will just put the bucket over or the pot over and call it a day. When it's going to be really prolonged like this, I like to do this technique. It's very simple, very easy, and very effective. Basically, you don't want your foliage touching the plastic because that can lead to more freeze damage. But in actuality, what I'm really just trying to do is save the roots. I'm not really worried about any of this foliage. I'm just not. I'm not worried about it. I'm worried about the root system making it through the freeze. That's what's most important to me, because I'm not looking for a beautiful growth right now from all my plants. It will have the rest of the winter and spring and all of next year to recover. I really just want to make sure that I keep those roots alive during the coldest parts of this prolonged deep freeze. Okay, so I just realized that I forgot to put the garlic in, so we'll have to do that separately, and I'll show you how I do that. Okay, let's take a look. Oh my God, that looks amazing. So good. All right, let me show you how I'm going to do the garlic real quick since I forgot. Okay, so basically I'm just going to use a little ramekin here. And I meant to put this in with the whole container, but this is the first time I'm doing this for y'all. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in here on the garlic. Some of this doesn't look awesome. Just like that. I just cut it open like that. And I like a lot of garlic for my roasted vegetable soup. So I'm just cutting the top off like that. Easy peasy. And I'm going to cover it with a little olive oil, and then I'll just pop this into, actually I'll put some aluminum foil over the top and then pop this into the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be utilizing an immersion blender, and I'm going to be blending a bunch of this out. And I'm going to start by going ahead and adding in some chicken broth. And here's my immersion blender. It's going to be loud, but I start with just on low. And I just go on top of each of the individual vegetables to start off. Okay, so this is in no way fully blended at this point, but the soup is going to continue to cook on the stove for a while. So I'm basically just going to go onto my large burner and I'm going to put it on low. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on from now. Once the garlic is done, then we'll come back and put the garlic in there and we'll give it another blending. Okay, so soup has been simmering. I'm going to turn it off for a minute. And it's looking really good. Yeah, that looks really nice. So what I'm going to do now is with the garlic that I have been cooking, it's cooled down a little bit. So what I'm going to do is basically, you can see now the cloves are all soft. So now I can just give it a squeeze and it will drop all of the caramelized garlic cloves in. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. Okay, and with that in there now, I can take my immersion blender and go low actually, and do this all the way through. And it looks like pretty much everything is blended out. Now you can certainly leave this more chunky if you prefer. Okay, so one last part. I like to add whipping cream or half and half or milk, whatever I have on hand, to this. And like I said, I don't really follow a recipe. I kind of just eyeball it. And the creaminess really adds a lot to this. Now you don't have to add the cream if you want to keep this non-dairy. But I'm not gonna lie, the cream adds a whole lot to it. All right, and then I'm just gonna put this on low and allow it to continue to simmer until dinner time. Okay, it's a little chilly. Okay, in regards to protecting your garden for freezes or deep freezes, most important thing you can do is water really well, a nice deep water so that your plants are nice and hydrated, because they're more likely to survive a freeze if they're hydrated as opposed to dehydrated. You definitely don't want to leave a dry plant outside during a freeze. What I'm doing, I do not do for any regular freezes. I only do this for extreme situations where we're going to have below about 20 for an extended amount of time, and it looks like it's going to be about 72 hours, because that is not something that my garden is built to quote unquote handle. And that's my choice. I built my garden this way, right? So I am going to be going through the necessary steps to make sure I give the best effort I can to protect it. Now, a lot of y'all might be like, that's not going to make a difference. That's totally fine. A lot of this is also done for my own peace of mind. And if you are unsure about your garden, when to cover, when to not, if you're worried about it, go ahead and cover it up. All right, just go ahead and do it. Give yourself that peace of mind that you did everything you could to protect your plant. I think that that's probably, out of everything, the most important thing that you can do for yourself and for your garden. All right, you all, I hope you enjoyed today's video, seeing me prep for the polar vortex and seeing just a little bit of something different, making roasted vegetable soup. As always, make sure you like and comment, and also subscribe to the channel. Every time you like and comment, it helps grow my channel so much. It's one of the biggest things you can do to help me out. And make sure you check me out on all the social media, including Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. As always, she's a mad gardener or decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.